Do you still believe in one of the biggest lies in history? Have you been told for years that Freemasonry supposedly emerged in the 17th century? That the first Masonic lodge was founded in France in 1688 and was called La Parfaite Égalité, perfect equality. That later, in 1721, several lodges in England united under the name Friendship and Brotherhood and formed the first official Masonic organization. But what really was Freemasonry? According to the common narrative, Freemasonry supposedly began as nothing more than a professional guild. Master builders, stonemasons, and craftsmen who constructed churches and universities came together. It is even said that the word Mason means master builder. In medieval Europe, these people built cathedrals, palaces, and universities. Later, they allegedly created the idea of Freemasonry, which spread across Europe. But is all of this truly the truth? Or is the history we have been told for centuries merely a carefully constructed cover? In this video, we will reveal the truths that are not written in textbooks, hidden in official history, and that many are afraid to talk about. To understand Freemasonry, we must first understand how and under what conditions Christianity emerged. Because long before the idea of Freemasonry appeared, Christianity already existed, and the path this religion followed had a serious influence on the formation of Freemasonry. Christianity emerged in the 1st century for D. After the execution of Jesus, his followers operated secretly for a long time. In the early centuries, Christianity was not an official religion. On the contrary, it was persecuted by the Roman Empire. What is interesting, however, is that Christianity began to spread even faster during these periods of oppression. The main reason for this was the extreme level of social inequality within the Roman Empire. Roman society was built on a polytheistic, pagan system. The rich and aristocrats offered sacrifices to the gods and built grand temples, while the poor were completely excluded from this system. Existing religions gave the poor neither hope nor spiritual support. Christianity, however, offered the complete opposite. Everyone is equal before God. There's no difference between the rich and the poor. These ideas were especially attractive to the poor and to slaves. That is why Christianity spread not by the sword, but through faith and hope. Early Christian communities hardly ever fought or rebelled. They lived in secrecy. This seemed dangerous to Rome, because this religion was changing the way people thought. Over time, serious political crises began within the Roman Empire. The struggle for the throne intensified. It was during this period that Constantine appeared on the stage of history, known as Constantine I. Constantine wanted to become emperor, but he had few supporters. He faced powerful rivals. He understood that it would be difficult to win through military force alone. So he chose a different path, the path of religion. According to history, before a battle, Constantine claimed that he saw a cross in the sky and words beneath it saying, "By this sign, you shall conquer." After this event, he grew closer to Christians and openly supported them. In 313 AD, with the Edict of Milan, Christianity was declared a free religion. A few decades later, Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. Here is a very important point. From that moment on, Christianity stopped being purely a faith and became a political tool. Previously the religion of the poor, Christianity now became the religion of emperors, palaces, and power. Faith turned into a center of authority. And from this point on, secret structures, symbols, and the concept of layered or gradual knowledge began to form. This gradually leads us to the ideological foundations of Freemasonry. After Christianity became the official religion, the Roman Empire began building churches everywhere. Specially selected religious leaders were placed at the head of these churches. Over time, the person at the very top of this hierarchy, the Pope of Rome, gained an incredibly great amount of power. The Pope was seen not only as a religious leader, but almost as God's representative on earth. His words were not considered simple opinions, but rather a kind of law and sacred ritual. People believed that whatever the Pope said was exactly what God wanted. In other religions, the words of mullahs, priests, and scholars were accepted merely as advice. But in medieval Europe, opposing the Pope meant almost facing death. Over time, this power also turned into material wealth. The church began collecting taxes and donations from people. Even non-believers were forced to pay, because it was believed that if the Pope wished, he could remove someone from God's mercy, curse them, and destroy their life. Especially the wealthy elite donated large amounts of gold, land, and riches to the Pope. In return, they gained influence and considered themselves saved. This system gradually took complete control over people's minds. People were told, when you are sick, you do not need to see a doctor. Medicine is useless. Only prayer can heal you. Only a priest can be a mediator. As a result, science, medicine, and logic were pushed into the background. Those who studied philosophy, mathematics, or astronomy were viewed with suspicion. They were portrayed as misguided and close to the devil. As a result, a period of ignorance began in Europe. People forgot how to read, research, and ask questions. They became accustomed to accepting everything blindly. The idea was created that all knowledge exists only within the church. This situation greatly benefited Roman authority, because an uneducated population is easier to control. In addition, thousands of ancient books, manuscripts, and libraries were destroyed. They were burned under the excuse that they were against religion. Yet if those books had survived until today, humanity's scientific progress might have advanced by centuries. It was in this dark environment that the seeds of secret societies began to be planted. Ignorance did not rule only in the Roman Empire, but in almost all of Europe. Especially the treatment of women was extremely harsh. According to Christian tradition, Eve was presented as the one who deceived Adam into eating the forbidden fruit. This idea was promoted for centuries, and as a result, women were portrayed as the source of sin. In many places, women were treated as second-class humans. Their opinions were ignored, and they had no rights. However, between the 7th and 13th centuries, the Islamic world experienced a golden age of science. Cities such as Baghdad, Damascus, Cairo, Bukhara, and Samarkand became centers of knowledge. During this period, Muslim scholars developed mathematics, created algebra, advanced astronomy, systematized medicine, reconstructed philosophy. Interestingly, this scientific progress began to worry religious leaders in Europe, because as knowledge spread, people began to ask questions, and a person who asks questions no longer obeys blindly. Out of this fear, the papacy in Rome chose a different path. In 1095, Pope Urban II delivered a historic speech in the city of Clermont, France. This speech later became the beginning of the Crusades. The Pope told the people, "Jerusalem is in the hands of Muslims. This land is under the occupation of infidels. The sacred place of Jesus is being desecrated." He promised that whoever joined the campaign would have all their sins forgiven and would go to heaven. This was one of the most powerful psychological manipulations in history. The Pope chose to solve ignorance not with knowledge, but with war. People were influenced with this idea. If we do not take Jerusalem, we will remain poor, weak, and we will be destroyed. As a result, thousands of people took up arms in the name of religion and set out, and the blood of hundreds of thousands of innocent people was shed. These campaigns were not only religious, but also the result of political and economic interests. Especially the poor believed in these promises with all their hearts. They had nothing to lose. That is why thousands left their homes, families, and lands to join the Crusades. Thus, an unprecedented mass movement was formed in history. In 1099, Christian armies entered Jerusalem. It was one of the bloodiest events in history. After the city was taken, thousands of innocent people were killed. Blood flowed through the streets. Historians remember this day as the Massacre of Jerusalem. As a result, the city came under Christian control and was declared a holy city. For Europe, this was presented as a great victory. People were told, "Look, God supported us. We have won." Everyone believed that life would change from then on, but it did not happen as expected. Poverty did not end. Ignorance did not disappear. Justice did not arrive. On the contrary, new problems began. And it was at this point that a very important turning point in history occurred. Some special groups who participated in the Crusades encountered different forms of knowledge, secret texts, and ancient symbols in the East. When they returned to Europe, they were no longer the same people. Their worldview had changed. They believed they possessed hidden knowledge, and they did not want to share this knowledge with everyone. It was from this point that the ideological foundation of Freemasonry began to take shape. Now we come to the group that played the most important role in the formation of Freemasonry, the Templars. Remember this name well, because from now on, everything will revolve around it. The Templars, also known as the Knights Templar, arrived in Jerusalem in 1118 with 9 chosen warriors. They swore an oath before the Pope of Rome that they would protect the Temple of Solomon and fulfill this duty even at the cost of their lives. At first, the Pope did not fully trust them, because before them there had been many knightly groups, undisciplined bands who drank alcohol, looted, harassed women, and caused chaos. But these 9 men were completely different. They prayed day and night, followed strict rules, never disobeyed. The Pope had been observing them for years. He saw how they lived with the same discipline, unchanged, patient, and loyal for 9 years. And he realized, these people are not ordinary warriors. They will carry out the task I assign without question. That's why he gave them a special emblem, a special status, and special authority. He distinguished them from the other knights, because he knew obedient people like this are rare to find. After some time, the Pope gave them a secret mission. This mission was one of the most mysterious orders in history. They were told, "There is a sacred ark hidden beneath Solomon's temple. You must find it. Bring it directly to me without opening it or touching it." But what was this ark? According to many ancient sources, it was the Ark of the Covenant. That is, the sacred chest in which the 10 Commandments given to Prophet Moses were kept. According to belief, this ark was not made of mere wood and gold. It carried the power of God, had supernatural abilities, granted strength to its holder, destroyed its enemies. For this reason, throughout history, this ark had been the most valuable treasure for many. Here, the story of Moses and Pharaoh is very important. According to the Quran and the Torah, when Prophet Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt, Pharaoh pursued them. But why did Pharaoh personally follow them? Why didn't he just send his army? Because with Moses, there was a very valuable treasure. Many sources say that Pharaoh knew the power of this ark. He knew that if he lost it, he would also lose his authority. That's why he saw Prophet Moses not just as a fleeing servant, but as a great threat. Pharaoh led his army and followed them relentlessly. The main goal was to retrieve the ark, but religious texts say that Moses was saved from this disaster, and Pharaoh drowned in the sea, and the ark disappeared from the stage of history. Centuries passed. Its location remained unknown. Some said it stayed in Egypt. Some said it was taken to the Middle East. Some said it was hidden beneath Solomon's temple. This is why the Pope believed that the ark could be in Jerusalem, and he entrusted this task only to the Templars, because he did not trust anyone else so completely. For years, they dug secret tunnels beneath the temple. They worked silently day and night. They told no one anything, and the whole world remained unaware of these excavations. Prophet Solomon was one of the wealthiest, most powerful, and wisest rulers in history. During his reign, the kingdom of Israel was at its peak, both materially and spiritually. Gold, treasures, palaces, armies, everything was in his hands. But despite all this wealth, Prophet Solomon could not unlock a certain secret. He could not fully understand the knowledge hidden inside the sacred ark left by Prophet Moses. Yes, he was also a prophet, very close to God, yet he was still human. And sometimes there is knowledge that not everyone can comprehend. That's why Prophet Solomon gathered the wisest scholars, sages, and seers of his time. He said to them, "Unlock the secret of this ark. Find out what is hidden inside." The scholars worked for years, but they could not succeed. The secret remained closed. Eventually, the idea arose that this knowledge could only be with the Egyptian priests, because in ancient Egypt, secret sciences, magic, symbolism, and special knowledge were highly advanced. And after some time, a very special person came from Egypt to Jerusalem. This person is known in history as Sekenenre-Tao II. Some sources say he would later become famous under the name Hiram Abif. Hiram Abif was a highly skilled architect, engineer, and a man of secret knowledge. He began to study the mystery of the ark. He worked for a long time. He studied the symbols. He read the ancient writings. And finally, he began to understand the true meaning of the ark. He conveyed this knowledge to Prophet Solomon. Solomon rejoiced and gave Hiram Abif the greatest task. "You will build the Temple of Solomon." This temple was not a simple building. It had to be one of the most sacred structures in the world. Every stone had to carry a symbol. Hiram Abif accepted the task and began construction of the temple. He kept only the chosen craftsmen with him. Not everyone could enter, because hidden knowledge lay behind the construction. And this is where the foundation of Freemasonry was laid. The word mason means stone worker. But in truth, it meant not just a man who carves stone, but a person who guards secret knowledge. Over time, Hiram-Abiff faced a threat. 3 men approached him. They wanted to learn this secret. They wanted to take the temple's hidden knowledge. They demanded that Hiram-Abiff reveal the secret to them. But Hiram-Abiff refused. He said, "This knowledge cannot be given to everyone. One must be worthy of it." The 3 men became angry, and one day, they attacked Hiram-Abiff. They gravely wounded him, and finally, they killed him. But before dying, Hiram-Abiff performed a very important task. He hid the sacred ark and its secret knowledge inside the temple. He hid it so carefully that later, no one could ever find it. From this moment, the concepts of lost knowledge and lost secret emerged in Freemasonry. Many of the symbols in Masonic imagery are connected to Hiram-Abiff and these 3 men. Light, keys, columns, hidden paths, they all trace back to this event. From that day on, Freemasonry became not just a craft of construction, but a system for guarding secret knowledge. According to some accounts, the Ark contained information so advanced that even in today's world, many of its mysteries remain unresolved. The Ark was not merely an object. It was a treasure holding the science, technology, and knowledge beyond the reach of human understanding in the ancient world. For example, consider the Egyptian pyramids in the Middle East, which even today inspire awe worldwide. These pyramids are not only monumental buildings, but also engineering marvels that surpass the limits of human imagination. Even today, how they were built cannot be fully explained. According to some claims, these magnificent constructions were made possible thanks to the knowledge contained in the Ark. Access to this knowledge was limited to certain Egyptian priests and select individuals. Using this information, they carried out projects that were centuries ahead of their time. Even with modern technology, powerful cranes, heavy machinery, and computerized systems, constructing the pyramids today in the same manner and speed would be nearly impossible. For example, the Great Pyramid of Giza used nearly 2 million stone blocks. Each block sometimes weighed 100 to 200 tons. These stones were transported from hundreds of kilometers away. Calculations suggest the pyramid was built over approximately 20 years, which means a massive stone had to be placed every few minutes. Even today, completing such a task would require years, thousands of machines, and vast financial resources. But none of these existed at the time. For this reason, many scholars describe these constructions as miracles beyond human capability. All this demonstrates that certain people in ancient times possessed knowledge that even we cannot reach today. The source of this knowledge was likely that mysterious Ark. In later centuries, only fragments of this knowledge reached certain individuals. Pythagoras, Aristotle, Babylonian scholars, and other great thinkers studied the remnants of this ancient knowledge and attempted to systematize it. Modern science and philosophy were built on the foundation of this knowledge. However, the full contents of the Ark were never fully revealed. This is why, after the Templars discovered the Ark, they faced a serious dilemma. They had to deliver the Ark to the Pope without opening it. But the Ark had already been opened. And this could not be hidden, because the Ark was designed in such a way that once opened, it could not be concealed. As they read what was written inside, they realized that this was no ordinary information. It contained secrets about the governance of the world, human thought, power, and authority. That is why the Templars began to hesitate. They were no longer merely obedient warriors. Now, they held one of the most dangerous secrets in the world. From this point, events began to take a completely different direction. Over time, the system formed around the Templars. Secret knowledge and ancient mysteries did not remain merely an organization. Instead, it evolved over centuries, changing its form, hiding its name, and spreading under different masks to various parts of the world. This secret journey, which began in the Dark Ages of the Middle Ages, grew stronger during the Renaissance, a period of rebirth of thought, philosophy, and science in Europe. Freemasonry quietly entered palaces, universities, banks, and political centers. The French Revolution, the founding of the United States, the weakening of European monarchies, the Industrial Revolution, the formation of financial systems. All these events sparked countless claims about Masonic influence. Some dismissed it as coincidence. Others believed it was the result of a strategy planned over millennia. Freemasonry was no longer just a union of stonemasons. It had become an ideology. It had become a mindset. It was a system that taught people to see the world differently, but only revealed this vision to the chosen. In this system, not every piece of knowledge was for everyone.